Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vendor Voices podcast, episode 5. I'm Sammi, wedding photographer, and I'm here with my co-host, Korrigan.
Hey guys, wedding videographer here, both based out of Chicago, Illinois, and we're excited to talk about some moments that we'll never forget from our wedding careers so far.
Yeah.
So just going over some fun moments from weddings we've shot in the past and reminiscing on some of our favorite weddings.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Every wedding I photograph, is just such a special day and leaves an imprint on me, but there are a few over the years that have really left an imprint. So we're excited to dive in and share some of those moments with you guys today.
All right, let's dive in.
All right, so for me, my first wedding, I would like to throw it back to the very first wedding that I ever shot. You haven't heard this story.
I haven't.
No. So speaking of first wedding, so it was actually for a college friend of mine. And I was so nervous to begin with. I mean, it was my first wedding. But, also so ready because my colleague, Brittany, and also a really good friend of mine, who actually.
Yeah. I just shot a wedding with her a few weeks ago.
Yeah. We have shot many weddings together now at this point. But it was actually both of our first weddings ever.
Oh, she was working with you for it.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So her and I spent countless hours preparing for this wedding. Nervously preparing, actually. And so we were spending hours just coming up with a shot list, looking over timeline, and just making sure we were ready. I mean, on the way up to the wedding, it was an out-of-state wedding, so we were for the whole drive up, we're just like going over the timeline, going over our shot list.
And that's just more time to be nervous. You're like, okay, now I have a few hours to just like... shake.
Yeah. We kept reviewing everything like we were about to take an exam, pretty much.
So you come prepared though, even
but we did
day
come
one.
very prepared. We did definitely. But it was really fun because since it was both of our first weddings, we just really wanted to do such a good job. And then also as a friend of mine, so there was
more on top of that. You're like, okay, I can't ruin this friendship.
No, exactly. And so I knew it meant so much. But what really actually stuck with me wasn't the stress of being new. It was actually the bride's mom.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was actually deaf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and...
Interesting dynamics. And this is something to mention. At most weddings, there's always an interesting dynamic to each one that you're like, what's the one detail I need to know so I can fully respect this couple and just do the best job possible.
So true.
So deaf mother of the bride it was?
Yeah, deaf mom. And honestly, I actually didn't know that about her. And
it's great to know this before you walk into a dressing room.
Yeah, it is. But what really stuck with me was the way that the bride and groom included her throughout the day. It was just so moving. During the first dance, I just remember the bride signing "I love you" to the mom, to her mom, and it just moved me to tears. Honestly, they just had little ways of communicating with her throughout the day. You look like you're gonna tear up.
Oh my gosh, I kind of did. That's so beautiful. Wow,
it really was. Just signing "I love you," to each other across the dance floor was so sweet. She couldn't hear the music, but she could feel,
wow, I didn't
the
even
moment.
think about that. Yeah, you're not able to hear the music. But.
Yeah, and it was that's what really mattered.
Yeah.
And, as a photographer, we're here to capture moments, and sometimes, we can get so caught up in the shot list and the moments that we want to capture and the way that we think that they should be captured. But it reminded me why I love what I do and why I love this work, because weddings are about so much more than just the details.
Yeah.
They are super important, but it's also about those connections and those relationships between a mother and her daughter, and a groom and his mother-in-law, and and all those little gestures of love that are captured throughout the day. And so it really made the day unforgettable for me. It was just such a special day. And you could just feel the love. And even though, she couldn't necessarily hear what was going on, she couldn't hear their vows, she couldn't hear the first dance, you could tell how engaged she was because she was just watching the emotions that was unfolding in front of her and the love that they had. And it was just so apparent how much she loved her daughter and how much her daughter loved her mom. So it was just,
cool. And that's
I'll
your
never
first
forget
one.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
first of all, your first wedding always sticks with you, but when there's a moment that powerful there, you're like, wow, this is like, one, the right industry for me. I found it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And wow, that's so powerful. You're able to capture that.
I'll never forget that.
Jeez. I recently this isn't one of mine, but I recently, one of my couples this year she's a sign language interpreter. That's like her career. So when they did their big entrance, she was like signing "I love you" or like doing some signs as they were doing their big like reception entrance. I was like, that's super cool. Love that.
I love that too.
Sign is so cool. I love that.
It is really cool. What about you?
Cool.
What's a moment you'll never forget?
Yeah, let's check out my list real quick.
Yeah.
So as the video side of things, I'm really drawn to audio and speeches. Speeches tend to be like my favorite part of the day, just from like a video perspective, because I'm like, I build my wedding films off of speeches and audio moments, as I've discussed previously on this podcast. But I really am like, okay, when I'm in the moment and I see like a cool speech happening, I'm like, okay, click, that's going to be in the film. And there was a couple I filmed probably, I think this was like a year and a half, 2 years ago now. It was downtown. It was actually at the Blackstone, I think.
I love
it's a really cool venue in Chicago. Cool venue. And there was a father of the bride giving a speech, and he talked about like taking a moment to take a snapshot in life. And it was really cool. It just like stuck with me. He was like, I just giving this speech. He's like, I remember back in the day in like the 90s, I had my daughter, the bride, sitting on my lap. We were watching The Simpsons, and I just remember taking a snapshot and thinking, I'm going to remember this moment on the couch watching The Simpsons on her wedding day. And this was like, it's been 20 plus years since that moment. And he was like, let's all together collectively in this wedding, let's just take a snapshot of today. And like bring in this moment of today and take a snapshot to remember for the rest of our lives. And I was like, gosh, this is such like a cool analogy for life.
So
like
cool.
He was like, many people, it's like never going to be again that all these people are gathered. Like in life at your wedding, you're never going to gather all of those individual people together in one room again. Like it's such like
for your funeral.
Right. So it's like, but still like probably not like grandparents or like the other, like, that's really that moment is going to be like forever. Just like taking a moment to take a snapshot. And so I don't know. I really enjoyed that moment. And that was like the opening lines for that film. And I was like, gosh, this is so powerful.
Wow.
I like to open a lot of my films with like father of the bride speeches can be so powerful. So that's one of my favorites. A lot of mine in the list later in the episode, you'll see I have a few father of the bride moments.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do we have another moment that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, definitely. This one is very near and dear to my heart. So it actually is a couple of mine that I photographed their wedding this summer. Oh. And I'll name them, Danica and Andy. They're the sweetest. Shout out to Danica and Andy. But they booked me for their wedding. But here's the kicker. So it was on my birthday. And
their wedding was on your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
fun gift to you. You're like, hey, I get to do my favorite thing ever.
Yeah. And at first I thought it had to be a prank because so when I get an inquiry, I always have on there like, where are you guys from, like your address and your phone number, and of course the date of your wedding.
Sure.
And so when I saw their inquiry come in initially, I saw that they lived in my building. And
what?
So
first of all, Sammi, you and your building. This is another building thing.
It is a very social building, and it's a high-rise building.
We shouldn't dox the building.
No. But
knowing Sammi, she's met so many people through her building, so this is just a funny thing. But
well, just wait.
Keep going.
So so at first I thought it had to be a prank. Like they lived in my same building, and this, I had no idea. It's on your birthday? Yeah. It's on my birthday. It almost felt like, somebody trying to prank me, like trying to get me somewhere on my birthday. I don't know. Like this can't be a real inquiry because it just felt like fate. And honestly, that day ended up turning into something I'll never forget. In addition to them turning into friends, neighbors to clients to friends. But Brittany... Shout out to Brittany again.
Shout out Brittany again. Second name drop on the episode.
Yeah. Also, I already mentioned this, but she's like one of my best friends and also a second shooter of mine. And we've worked and shot many weddings together. But she also came along. And as we walked into the bridal suite, I noticed that the makeup artist was also one of my closest friends.
What?
And also one of my neighbors who lived in the same building as us. So just an ironic mix of people that just, all on one day. And it was kind of like this incredible moment where everything just sort of aligned. Like friends, neighbors, now clients, and it was just such a special moment. But the sweetest part of the day was during speeches. I'll never forget Danica's mom, sweetest lady, and she recounted this story about when Danica was younger, and I guess she really loved the movie Toy Story. Okay. And do you remember the Andy doll?
Oh, yeah, of course. Main character.
Yeah, of course. So she always loved...
Well, it's Woody.
Or Woody,
but Andy on the boot.
Andy on the boot.
Andy on the boot.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So Andy on the bottom of the boot.
Sure.
And I guess like she, as a kid, she really loved this toy, and and her mom recounted how even as a kid that like her Andy like was out there. It was like,
oh wow,
like she always had this special like bond. And now here she was marrying her Andy.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think there was a dry eye in the room.
Oh
Everybody
my
was like tearing up,
wow.
including myself and
my
Brittany.
gosh.
I was like looking over at her and we were like, are you kidding me? Like, is this really happening?
This is not
right
happening.
Now? It just, And so anyways, it was just so sweet, and they're so in love and such an adorable couple. And I know they have such a bright future ahead of them. And it was just like, they're just the cutest, and had such a great support system around them too. But it was a fun way to spend my birthday, honestly, this year.
That's so cool.
And it just felt like being part of something so much bigger, and it brought me so much joy.
Wow, that's awesome. Especially when you think about like, okay, yeah, you also get to like, one, these are neighbors, and then you get to meet like their whole community of people.
Yeah.
Like it's like, wow, this is like, I'm at people's weddings, you get to see like, oh, this is your community. Yeah. A lot of people, it's like, especially if it's like maybe a smaller wedding or even like the bigger wedding, sometimes it's like, these are these people's direct communities and like the people that support this couple. It's so cool to see.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so sweet. Real quick, that reminds me, because you said your friend was the makeup artist. Mm-hmm. Going back to my last story about that father of the bride at the Blackstone, it happened to be, this is the only time, but a good friend of mine from college, Liam Taylor, a musician who I've actually shot a few music videos for in the past year, he was part of like the wedding band. And I didn't even know that. Like I just show up, I'm like, wait, Liam? Hello? Like he was just like up there singing. I was like, this is so cool.
Ironic.
So I'm like, such a small world thing.
It is. It is.
So really cool.
I love that.
Well, let's go to one of my next unforgettable moment. This is in my first year of wedding videography, or maybe second. But this is for my good friend Christian and Molly's wedding. Christian and Molly is a couple that stems from in my past, like 2019. I was a wedding videographer. In 2019, I was a summer camp videographer for a summer camp. And it was a Christian summer camp, so you know what Christian summer camp counselors do. They get married to each other, right? That's what happens. It's the pipeline. And so from this one summer, doing videography for this summer camp, I've had like 5, I think I'm going on my 6th wedding is actually next year. I have a couple from that summer, 2019, still today, my 6th wedding from this summer camp.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
And that's kind of like also what helped propel my wedding career is like all these weddings of these people that were my coworkers at the summer camp. It's really cool. Those weddings are always like special to me because I'm like, I was literally working alongside you like back in
you like
college.
Saw the beginning of that relationship.
Yeah, it's like they were just like coworkers, working in the kitchen. But this comes from that. My good friend Christian was a camp counselor alongside me. His now wife Molly was actually not a camp counselor, but they were dating and they were like long distance at the time. So me and him were always like talking about who's this Molly? I hadn't met Molly yet. And so I was actually able to film their wedding, which was really unique because it was on the border of the U.S. and Canada, up north of Seattle, like right above Seattle, like an hour or two above that. Right on the border, it's at this park called Peace Arch Park. And it's a really cool like border park where Molly's Canadian, Christian's from the States. Okay. And it's the only place that they could get married and no one needed a passport.
Oh.
Because it's this little park that opens like during the day. It's a public park where like Canadians can come in, U.S. residents can come in, and they can kind of like commingle. It's really cool. I'd never been there before. And So shout out Peace Arch Park, I guess.
Yeah.
And they had their wedding just in this park, like public space. They had this really beautiful ceremony, this reception. We were able to like go take photos like on the actual border and like walk over the border a little bit, like not get too sneaky. I did take like 2 steps into Canada. That was my first time there. It was really cool. So that was a really cool moment. So shout out Christian and Molly. That was just like a beautiful ceremony. And just goes to show, like, you know, it's cool that it's like they had to like do the research. Like they're not from Peace Arch Park, or like they're not from, you know, that area like right above Seattle or anything like that. But that was the one place that they could come together. Both of their communities from either side could come and like not have to worry about like passports or travel or like international stuff. So it was really cool. That was a really fun moment. Yeah, and just a beautiful wedding in general. That was also Reagan and I's. It was our first year anniversary as a dating couple. She was my girlfriend for 1 year exactly on the day of their wedding.
And now she's your fiance.
And now she's my fiance, and we share. So now Christian, Molly, me, and Reagan share like the same like anniversary date, because their wedding is like the day we started dating too. Obviously, our anniversary date will be different once we get married, but for right now, it's still the same date.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cool.
That's so sweet. I love that.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool.
Let's go refer back to the list. Sammy, do you have another? I don't know how many we have keyed up in the bank.
I have so many unforgettable moments, but maybe we'll share a couple more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So let's fast forward to a wedding where the dress itself told a story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that opening. First of all, crazy.
Right? I know. So artsy. So Sarah, one of my brides from this summer as well, she actually wore the gown that her mom and her grandma wore.
Wow.
Yes.
And do we have photos of this we can pop up on screen?
Yeah.
We do? Okay.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. So both her mom and her grandmother had worn the same gown, and now it was
That's
her
such a
turn.
Generational thing. That's so powerful. Wow.
It is. I know. And it was such a beautiful vintage timeless dress, but she did have it altered to like fit her desired style, and she adjusted some of like the neckline and a few little details and such to kind of like make it hers, which I thought was really cool too, that they were okay with that.
Yeah.
But it was just really cool. She looked so stunning, and she really rocked it.
Man, now I'm excited to see these photos and editing. I wasn't at this wedding, so I'm excited to see this.
It's really beautiful. And honestly, like, you could just feel the weight of what it meant to her and to her mom to see her in that dress, and to see her, like, you know, take on this new, like, journey of becoming a wife, and what that meant, and the weight of that.
Wow.
And kind of like that history as she walked down the aisle,
sort
of embodying like what it meant, like what marriage meant to her mom, and what it meant to her grandma. It just, I mean, I met her mom. I did not get to meet her grandma, sadly, but I can tell her grandma was such a beautiful, lovely woman, the way they talked about her too. Later, she did change into a more modern dress. She did the whole trendy dress change thing.
The reception dress.
The reception dress,
nice.
Which was also super fun.
That's fun for like letting loose a little bit.
Yeah,
like, you gotta, let some of the weight down a bit.
And more, just more fun.
More party.
More party type dress. But that vintage dress stayed with me for sure. It wasn't just a piece of clothing. It was like a symbol of love and legacy too, that she was carrying forward. So I'll definitely never forget that. And it just,
that kind of gives me like a passing of the torch kind of thing. That's exactly. Powerful too.
Yeah, exactly. I love when couples find ways to, like weave their personal legacies into their wedding day, you know? And this one was just absolutely perfect. So I'll never forget that for sure.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's refer back to my list. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. This is a funny one. This is going to stay. This is just a one-liner that happened at a wedding. This is from my couple, Sammi and Steven, from earlier this year. This was a hilarious one-liner that the maid of honor said in their speech. Again, speeches stick with me because they end up in the edit.
And you get to hear them more than once.
And I listen to them a lot. I cull through them. I see like what are the best moments, because sometimes like I don't want to fit a whole, if there's like a 10-minute speech, like we're not going to do the whole thing, but I pick like the key moments that really like define the speech. And this speech, it was a really heartfelt speech. This is like Sammy's best friend for years and years. And so they were just like talking about like, oh, I used to be Sammy's protector and now you can be the protector. But the ending line that was like got the crowd going crazy, she said, may all of your ups and downs be only in the bedroom.
Okay.
Which was crazy, and everyone was like laughing
Oh my
hysterically.
gosh.
I was like, this is so funny, like just showing like their sense of humor and their friendship. I was like,
oh my gosh.
literally crazy just to drop that at a
Yeah,
wedding. I'm like, come
seriously.
on, this is so funny. And Reagan was with me for that one, and she was like, no way this person just said this.
No way.
It was so funny. It was a really cool moment, but it just showed their friendship. Imagine being
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I know. Sorry,
Poor
there's
grandmas
like,
and grandpas
I know
in the
the
room,
grandma
they're
and
like-
grandpas, like kids are like, what? I'm like, dude,
You're like,
you know,
just, you'll understand someday. Next up, let's talk about my first destination wedding.
ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Stressful, but fun. We'll see. Maybe not stressful at all.
Honestly, I mean, it was not that stressful.
No?
No, so this one was in St. Pete, Florida.
Oh, love St. Pete.
I know, me too. And yeah, it was my first destination wedding, and it was at the iconic Don Cesar's
Ooh.
hotel, which is like straight out of a postcard.
I haven't seen it. Maybe we'll pull up like a Google image or something.
Please, we should. It's an iconic pink hotel. It's
Oh.
all pink on the outside.
I've been to St. Pete's, but I must have missed that hotel.
Yeah, so it really feels straight out of a postcard. And everything about the day was just breathtaking, you know, from just being like surrounded by, you know, beautiful sandy beaches,
Oh,
the
yeah.
palm trees. The couple was stunning, and they had the most beautiful vows, and also it was so much fun to like get to travel to
Oh, yeah.
a wedding, you know? It was like,
For first time, you have like first flight jitters too. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm always, for me, you seem
yeah, I'm
super
like, did
confident.
I pack? Well, I'm like,
I'm
did I
always
pack
like,
everything? Do I have all my memory cards? Did I forget anything? I was like, please don't let me forget a lens, or
I
'cause
think
it's like I can't just run home real quick, you know?
For me, I still get like the wedding nerves the morning of and stuff like that. So I think whenever I like have a long drive, or especially like a
Yeah.
flight, like I did an upstate New York wedding this past year, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, the flight there, I'm like, oh, I hope I have everything. I triple checked and stuff.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just something about destination weddings that makes everyone, I think, also just feel really present.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know that everybody's intentionally there. It's not like
Oh, yeah.
they just rolled out of bed and
Just drove 10
and
minutes
we're
down
like,
the street.
yeah. And I mean, not that people really do that anyways for a wedding, but like,
Sure.
there's something about it that also just, I think, makes people more present, because
Totally.
like everybody's there intentionally, and had to travel sometimes long distances, because the couple like is from Chicago.
Okay.
So a lot of their friends and family were also from Chicago.
Big switch up of scenery. They
yeah.
definitely went down with no beaches
Yeah.
here. There's like,
Yeah,
lake beaches,
Lake
but
Michigan beach.
lake beaches are different than St. Pete beaches.
Yeah, not quite the same. Oh, and the sunset photos that we did.
Oh
Oh, my
my
gosh.
gosh.
It was in that moment where I was like, I love what I do.
This is so cool.
Like, I could do this for the rest of my life. Like,
Wow.
it was just the golden hour sunset and the backdrop of the beautiful pink palace. Oh, it was a really cool wedding.
I'm excited to look up this
Yeah.
hotel.
Oh, it's a really iconic venue.
That's
for
super
sure.
cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Should we do like one or two
course.
more?
Yeah.
I'll finish up with mine. So this is actually a wedding I did very recently. The bride had a surprise speech for her mother and invited her to do a dance, which
I
was
love
like really
that.
powerful, because I think it's so cool, because like mothers of the brides are such important like members of the wedding party, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like for most weddings they don't have like a super like
Yeah.
special,
that's
like,
so true.
the father
Yeah.
gets like the father's first look, and then
Yeah.
the father of the bride's speech and things like that,
And the first dance.
and the first dance. So it's like there's a lot of stuff for the
Yeah,
father of the
there
bride, but
is.
there's not too much for the mother of the
Why
bride.
is that?
I don't know. I think that's just like tradition.
I
don't
think we
know.
need to change that.
We do need to change that, because whenever there's a moment for the mother of the bride, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm having my mom like lead our ceremony. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah,
I
she's
need,
officiating,
She needs some.
right?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
officiating, and so I was like, moms need some representation. I feel like so.
Yeah. That's cute.
At this previous wedding, the bride had like a surprise speech, and she started talking. I was like, oh, this must be like, traditionally there might be like a couple's speech, just like a thank you, a quick thanks speech is typically how it is. But she actually went into being like, oh, this is actually a speech just for my mom. And she like kind of like pointed her out. She's like, thanks for one of the lines that stuck with me was like, thanks for all the bad haircuts and stuff like that. Like just like growing up, and everyone like had a laugh, but it was still
Yeah.
like a very emotional moment. And then she pulled her up for a dance, because she obviously had her dance with her dad. And another moment, I just really liked this couple. Another moment was the father of the bride was giving his speech, and he, instead of doing a traditional speech, he gave a poem. He like wrote a poem directed at her husband. And it was like, hey, I loved her first, but I'm giving her away, even though it's hard because I loved her first. She told me so, that she loved me first. It's all about like, I loved her first, but I'm giving her away. And it was really passionate, like powerful to me. My late grandpa was big into writing poems, and he like wrote a bunch of poetry through his life. And this kind of was a similar kind of character, kind of like maybe like, I don't know, a tough guy, but yet he writes poetry. It's like really cool. And so I just like really resonated with that. I was like, man, this is really cool to hear this. Like, even like, it might not be an emotional speech, but it's like writing that poem is how he got that out was really cool. So
I love that.
That was a fun really cool moment that I'll probably never forget.
Yeah.
I rewatched the poem like 5 times in editing. I was like, let me just keep hearing this. So it was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, and that was it for that one, but do we have a final story we can wrap up on, Sammi?
Yeah. So let's throw it back to a wedding that I shot, I think it was about a year ago at the Montebello Estate. Have you ever shot a wedding there?
The name sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know if for me, I feel like sometimes the venues blend together sometimes.
That's
so
totally
I would need
fair.
to like look it up on Google.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite venues. It's like a private estate mansion type vibe, kind of like Armour House, which I also really love.
Oh, that one's really good.
Yeah. But
that just makes, side note real quick, in the future we should definitely do an episode on our favorite like venues we've shot at.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, let's definitely do that.
Yeah, definitely. So this one is unforgettable to me, not only because the couple was just adorable and so much fun to work with, but I had a chance to work with a friend of mine from high school who was actually the planner.
Oh, wow. That's super fun.
Yeah, she's the owner of Amelia Cole Events, which is a luxury wedding planning service, and they are just so incredible, and they do such an amazing job. And I had been like seeing her post about all these beautiful weddings she was shooting, and I just thought, oh, it'd be so cool to reconnect with her now that we're both in the wedding vendor like industry. Shout out to Regina. And reconnecting with her while I was shooting this wedding was really fun because we hadn't seen each other since high school. And also just getting to reconnect with her while we were both doing what we love was really cool to see how much we've grown up since high school.
That's
now
so
being,
crazy.
you know, I don't want to age myself, but it's been a minute since
Yeah.
high school.
What a small world thing, though. It's like, wow, this person, like, sure, it's been a while. It was back in high school. We were two totally different people.
Yeah, had no idea probably that we were gonna.
Were you friends in high school, really, or was
yeah,
it like
we had
more
a few
of
classes together.
Oh, super cool. So you like knew who she was and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. And then also the Montebello Estate is just breathtaking.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very historic, elegant venue, like I was saying. And yeah, Regina had every detail planned perfectly. She did such a good job, and every little detail was just like so exquisite. But also, I love that she built into the timeline during golden hour for us to go outside behind the mansion to take some beautiful golden like sunset hour photos. The lighting.
And the planner planned like the location and stuff like that?
Well, she was like,
here's the time.
She was like, hey, and then
so smart.
It was like we were nearing that point where like the sun was starting to set, and she even was like, hey, now would be a good time. Maybe we can go grab the couple. And I was like, I'm so down with that.
Yeah, first of all, thank you.
Thank
you.
Like,
shout out you.
Shout out
like,
to you for
huge...
like building the time in for us to go take 15 minutes and like go do this.
Oh yeah. Because I'm sure those could be some like highlight pieces for the gallery.
Oh,
like
100% they are.
Star photo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the sun started like dipping below the horizon, and like the photos, like the sun just like glaring through like behind them, like so gorgeous. And just working with her brought back so many memories from like high school and stuff too, and to see her thriving is also really fun.
Nice.
So it was fun. Yeah, we both come such a long way, and so yeah, I'll never forget that, and I hope I get to work with her on more weddings. So maybe we'll have her on this podcast too.
That'd be really cool. Shout out
to Amelia Cole Events. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
real
quick before we wrap up, I do want to give something we forgot to do in the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
You know
I know
what
you're going to
say.
Yes, let's do it.
We need a Korrigan and Reagan wedding planning update.
Yes. So what's the latest with you guys?
Word vomit. We're keeping that in, actually. We're actually keeping that in. But the latest news is that we've actually purchased our wedding bands. So I finally have a ring. Woo! My thing is like, dude, I hate that the men don't get to wear a ring the whole engagement. Like, she gets to rep this really cool ring and I get nothing. So I'm like, come on.
I have seen some people actually
Do a ring?
Yeah, rock a ring.
I should have done that. I don't know what
even
I'm
just
thinking.
like a band, like a athletic band or something. Just to be like, hey, I'm off
Even
the market.
like I've seen like the rubber ones too are big for men right now. So we finally got my ring. I got like a really cool gold band.
Cool. I'm excited to see
we don't have any like actual photos of it to throw up just yet. It's really basic. I just wanted a basic gold band to go with her. She has a very like timeless like emerald cut like what's it called, solitaire, where it's just like the one diamond. So it's like I just wanted to go with that. And we also got her wedding band as well. So really cool to like have that checked off the list. So that's our wedding update. So yeah. So fun. Anyway, Sammi, where can people find you and connect with you if they want to reach out about anything weddings or want to follow the podcast? Can you give us some plugs?
Yeah, let's do it. So, of course, the Vendor Voices on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us there, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcast. All the apps. But then my personal Instagram, if you want to check out more of my photography work and see my portfolio, is Captured by Sammi. We'll also put it below in the show notes, so you guys can easily click onto a link and check us out there.
Check her out.
Yeah. And how about you, Korrigan? Where can they find you if they want to check out some more of your work or inquire to work with you?
Totally. Yeah. So check me out on Instagram. It's at Korrigan.mp4. That's Korrigan with a K. And you can follow me there, send me a message. Working also on setting up a official like wedding film separate account. Right now it's like the weird thing where it's like, this is my personal Instagram, this is my wedding Instagram, wada. So I also do like social media for other companies. So I feel like I'm just like on the apps. Like I have like 17 accounts on my phone.
Yeah,
it needs to stop.
Yeah.
But follow me at Korrigan.mp4 and look forward to some big things.
Yeah. So many fun things coming up.
Yeah. Also want to do a quick announcement. We're going to have a special guest on the next episode. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. Our first guest on the Vendor Voices.
Yeah. Besides, we did have Reagan.
Oh, besides Reagan. Yeah. I guess so.
We had your fiance on.
Yeah. Obviously. That one just felt like very like.
That was impromptu.
So it wasn't like planned. So now we can say like a planned official second guest then, I guess, on next episode. So be on the lookout for that.
Should we give a little teaser?
A little teaser?
Yeah. You know, like tell them about who we're going to have on.
I think we should leave it as a surprise.
Okay, we'll leave it as a surprise.
Leave it as a surprise. You guys can hang out. But check us out Sundays. The episodes come out each Sunday on YouTube, Spotify, as we mentioned, all the apps. Yeah. And we will see you guys next week.